This event occurred on the 4th of April 2015. A Reclaim Australia rally was held to protest the Islamisation of Australia, halal food, the burqa, support for terrorism, etc., and how Australia is headed in the wrong direction. I was undecided about going until the Thursday before, when I went to the dentist and I saw posters on the street calling for a counter-protest, and I decided I was going. It was scheduled to start at 1 p.m. I arrived just after, fashionably late, and went looking for the rally. The rally was held in Federation Square, an ugly modernist site of buildings and tiled uneven open space which was built to replace two 1960s ugly modernist buildings located in the middle of Melbourne. A terrible place for a rally. Unfortunately, the rally was being held on a large balcony with only two ways in, one facing north, one facing south. Here's where the fun and games began. The rally was due to start, as I said, at 1 p.m, but the police had allowed not one rally, but two, one by Reclaim Australia and the other by a group that called itself No Room for Racism, but in reality the radical group Socialist Alliance. Their aim was to break up the first rally. At midday, the police had come in and formed a human barrier to the south and a mounted police barrier on the north side, keeping the early Reclaim Australia supporters on the balcony, the police barriers on either side, and then the Socialists formed up with the police behind them to stop any further supporters from getting in. It turned out that quite a few of us were fashionably late, so now we have Socialists and Reclaim Australia supporters on the same side of the police barriers. All of the violence is due to this police failure to properly keep the two groups separate. So those of us on the outside wanted to get in. I looked at the south side and realised I couldn't get in, so I went to the north side. Myself and others walked through the socialist crowd up to their human barrier. I tried to push my way through. When other Reclaim Australia supporters saw that, they joined in. I was tripped and fell to the ground, unhurt. I got up and told them not to try that again. A few minutes later, we tried again, but it failed as well. We tried a third time to push through, and the mounted police moved forward, pushing the socialists into us and pushing us back. We might have been able to force our way through the socialists, maybe. To their credit, they were quite disciplined, but not mounted police, so we didn't try again. But for many, their blood was up, and seemingly at random, someone would spit, punch, or push someone on the other side. Neither side was innocent, and there were others who were trying, not always successfully, to calm things down. A few of the socialists spoke to me and asked why I was there. I told them that I wanted to live in my own country, not someone else's. They seemed a bit surprised, but they listened. Another said it wasn't my country, as I wasn't an Aboriginal. This is a favourite tactic of the left in Australia. I asked him why he wanted more immigrants in the country to make Aboriginal people even more of a minority. Some of the socialists were reasonable, but for others, no fact was enough. They were there simply to deny us the right to go about our lawful business. I started speaking with some other Reclaim Australia supporters, and I saw some did manage to break through the barrier. But then more police started turning up. I then went around to the south side, talking to more people and handing out my leaflet, What Do Traditional Conservatives Believe? I handed out quite a few. A number of those I spoke to had seen me trying to push through and asked if I was all right. It got quite heated, but I was completely unhurt, not a scratch. That wasn't true for others. The most serious injury I saw happened to the man who tripped me. He was wearing a dress, by the way, but after I'd moved off, I saw someone hit him in the head and he was bleeding. To show how much passion there was, people cheered. There was a lot of anger from both sides, but if you walked away, people tended to leave you alone. Not always. There was one incident where a young female socialist tried to grab an Australian flag held by a Reclaim Australia supporter, so I pushed her away. She wasn't happy and she started yelling at me and kicked me in the ankle. But that's the way the left are. Do as I say, not as I do. But before I could do anything, some other people started yelling at her. I don't even know whose side they were on, but I walked away as I was planning to do in the first place. The Reclaim Australia organisers called the rally off after about an hour, I assume on police advice. Then the socialists decided they wouldn't let the Reclaim Australia supporters out. The police wanted the Reclaim Australia supporters to leave via the south, but the socialists blocked the way. So now it all starts again. The pushing, the name-calling, the chanting, and yes, the violence. I managed to join up with those who had made it onto the balcony, although they had moved off the balcony by this stage. But then the Reclaim Australia supporters got angry and started to use the socialist tactics against them, more organised by this stage. Things could have got very ugly when a large contingent of police arrived and forced the two groups apart. The police then moved the Reclaim Australia supporters out of Federation Square. Just like the entire day, the police, either by accident or design, gave a victory to the socialists. Victoria Police have a sad record in recent years. Last year, they were even forced to give a public apology over allowing abortion supporters to attack and intimidate marchers on an anti-abortion march. By 3 p.m, both groups had been moved off. I was still there and I saw a reporter, and I asked him how he was going to show what happened. He said he would show what happened. I asked if he would talk about how the police wouldn't let Reclaim Australia supporters into their own rally. He didn't really reply, but I watched his report and he did put it in, simply by explaining how the police formed up. Some thoughts on the Reclaim Australia rally. Federation Square is a terrible place for a rally. Central, yes, but crowded and too noisy, even if everything had gone 100% okay. I would suggest a hall where we bought tickets beforehand and only those with tickets get in, much easier to control. The socialists had speakers in big wheelie bins. We should steal that idea. The Reclaim Australia supporters didn't go there for a confrontation, but the socialists did. If they give us advance warning that they are going to protest, we should prepare for that. Today we were not prepared and they achieved their aim of shutting us down. Organisers need to coordinate with police better. The actions of the police help the socialists. If the police are not on their side, on our side, then we shouldn't pretend that they are, and we should prepare for that. The socialists call themselves anti-racist, but they were an awfully white bunch. So were we, and so were the police. This was whites fighting and arguing against whites. A number of people said to me today that this was war. Every day we move closer towards a civil war as the Gulf is growing. The only question is which Western country will go up first. People of other races moved about the square and I didn't see them either afraid or harassed. So much for us being racist. There are people who will be scared off by today, but that is what they count on. We must be brave, both physically and mentally. We must fight mentally and, if need be, physically. We must not let them silence or intimidate us. I'm sick of being told what I'm allowed to think or say. I'm sick of being told who can live in my country, and I just have to put up with it. I'll be at the next Reclaim Australia rally. And I was.